Well, Joyce and Mark, nearly 28 years ago, 16-year-old Sarah Yarborough showed up here to Federal Way High School, and her young life came to a violent end. Her family and investigators spent decades searching for her killer with no luck until last week, when a critical break in the case set off a chain of events that led detectives to an arrest. A bench on the campus of Federal Way High School honors 16-year-old Sarah Yarborough. The teen arrived alone to the school on a Saturday morning in 1991 to go to a drill team competition. Her body was discovered on school property about an hour later by two boys, who also saw a man leaving the scene. Yarborough had been strangled and beaten. Investigators were able to gather samples of a man's DNA from the teen's clothing, but it didn't match anything in a national database. A sketch of the suspect helped generate more than 4,000 tips. But their big break came last Friday. A forensic genealogy company contracted by the King County Sheriff's Office called with a lead on a person of interest named Patrick Leon Nicholas, who lived in King County. The Sheriff's Office quickly put him under surveillance. Detectives were watching Nicholas outside this Kent strip mall. According to court documents, he smoked a few cigarettes and tossed the butts on the ground, along with a napkin. Detectives later collected those items, which became crucial pieces of evidence. They sent the cigarettes and napkin to the state crime lab, which made a remarkable discovery. The DNA matched samples collected from Yarborough's clothing at the crime scene. Nicholas became more than just a person of interest. And then on Wednesday evening, investigators closed in on him at Nashville's, a bar in Kent. They arrested him right outside. The staff tell me he'd been coming here for years, and they were stunned to learn an accused murderer was in their midst. At a press conference Thursday, Laura Yarborough, Sarah's mom, thanked the investigators for their tireless efforts.
They have never given up. Even when I had given up, they still didn't give up.
Nicholas is now in custody, charged with first-degree murder. His bail was set at $5 million. Now that investigators have his DNA samples, they're running his DNA samples against others in that national crime database to see if he might be linked to other unsolved cases. Live in Federal Way, Ted Land, King 5 News.